What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Sideline Thoughts. I'm your host, Joe Galvez, like always. And as you see from the title, this is the Copa America final. And this is the last Copa America video that we'll be seeing because there's still one more video. And if you guys have taken a look at the Euro final video that I did prior to this one, you'll see at the end of it, I say there's still one more episode going. And there is still one more episode when it comes to international football in the summer, and as the finalismo game. And we know the winner. I've said in the Euro um, video, we know Argentina won. So now we have the finalismo game, which is Argentina versus Spain, which I think is going to be a very entertaining game. I think it's going to be a great game just to enjoy. And like I said in the last video, if you're just a fan of soccer, if you're a Messi fan, if you're a Spain fan, a Barcelona fan, a Argentina fan, like I said, just a fan of soccer, maybe not Cristiano Ronaldo fans, but maybe them too. This is definitely just a game just to entertain. You have no need of an attachment to pick a side on this. I really don't think anyone, especially those who are Barca and Messi specific fans, like the said Messi fans, that you don't have to pick a side. You could have either one when we could, Spain and Barca and Yami Yamal and stuff like that. But I think it's gonna be a great game. But right now, this is about the Copa America and everything that went on. Of course, I'll be giving my opinion on everything that went on, and from the game to what happened before and stuff like that, and kind of give a prediction to, or not prediction. I'm sorry, kind of give my take on what can be not done, but what to look for in the future now that the World Cup is the next event that will be hosted here in the United States, one North America. So, but let's get right into it. As you see on the screen, Argentina beats Colombia 1-0. Now, I did get my predictions wrong on the previous Copa America video. I did say I predict Colombia was going to beat Argentina 2-1. And I did it because I thought Colombia's offense was going to be a bit too much for Argentina's defense, which hasn't been all that perfect, but they were solid. And I did think I wasn't sure how Argentina's offense was going to go with in my opinion, kind of struggle to score a lot of goals. But this was going against a Colombia defense that wasn't all that great defensively. But this game really changed a lot. Now, before we talk about what happened before the game, I will say that to the end it off. Talk about the game here. Started off in the first half. I think Colombia played the best part and they controlled much of the match in that first half. Just looking at the stats here. Colombia ended the game with 56 possession. This is even with the extra time that was played. Colombia did play one. They won that first half. Whether if you're going to decide who wins which half, Colombia did dominated that first half. They took more shots. They attacked hard. Argentina was attacking in that first half, but it wasn't as effective, as dangerous. And in my opinion, they only had one real chance of scoring in that first half, and of any actual danger. Now you see, Argentina had more shots on target, but Colombia had more shots taken. To me, that means more dangerous, or at least more attacking. And the aspect of that, just looking at the stats of it, Colombia really, they could have scored one so close of a goal in that first half where it hits the post and goes out of bounds, where Dibu Martinez kind of leaves it and he makes a gesture, which a lot of keepers make the gesture of like they left it because they would think it's going out of bounds. And in that scenario, it would have been a huge mistake for Dibu Martinez if that ball was to go in, because it hit the post and just so happened to hit just enough of the outside of the post to go out, because it looked like it could have hit and gone in. But that would have given Colombia the win, because Argentina didn't get there going to the second half of the extra time. So there would have been no extra time at all. Colombia would have won in regulation time if that goes to happen. Colombia had so many chances. Timo Martinez, I think he had a really good game, saving a lot of shots, coming out a lot, taking out clear opportunities for Colombia to score. He was really safe back there. I think Colombia really just had too much shots that I thought could have honestly gone in, and Debo was there to save it, or even defense was there, but mainly Debo. I think he had a really good game. Again, I'm not saying that he is the best goalie in the world, and nor do I think he's there for it, like in that competitiveness, that competition for the best goalie in the world. But he has played at least two back to back great, really great finals. I'm sorry, he's played two back to back really good games in where he has saved Argentina a number of times, and he's really giving his all. One of these times, he's one of these kids that's giving his all for it, and yeah, I mean, I think I don't think without him, Argentina would have been able to gone this far as much because I think he's helped them a lot in a lot of these games. But yeah, now like I said, the first half I think that was Colombia's offense was really just taking it all off. I mean, the attack you see Rodriguez, James Rodriguez, and Luis Diaz being part of that. I think Cordoba was I think Cordoba found himself more in towards the second half of the game, but in that first half, I think we saw a lot more of Colombia again being quick, trying to counter back with their attacks, or even try to keep it on Argentina's side of the half whenever they lost the ball and try to recover it. You see the defensive miss. I don't think Rios played as good as again. Personally, I expected more from Rios from seeing how he's been playing throughout the tournament. My expectation from him was raised a bit, but I understand you say that's unfair to say that because he just like we're just seeing about him now, which is understandable. But seeing how he's played in the tournament, I think from those levels you could expect that level from him again in this final. I don't think we reach it. I think the same for James. I think James did very well in this final game, the final. I think he played very well, but I think there's moments where at times he tried to force the ball. I think he tried to force himself to get this offense going quicker in that first half, and he tried to force a couple passes, try to take a couple shots that were kind of unnecessary in my opinion, like outside. Not just James, I think it was on that taking shots but a bit far. I think that was a bit more on the Colombia team itself offensively, just a little careless in some of the shot decisions. But I think they played well. I really thought the set pieces were going to be a big danger. Um, I really thought the set pieces were going to be a weapon for Colombia, and they're used especially off the corners. The way James Rodriguez has been able to get at least a few assists off corners, or just set pieces in general when it comes to free kicks as well. So I thought Colombia was going to have a big time attacking like that, especially with Lerma and Yeremina. Being tall, some of the tallest players jumping so high and winning these headers. There's a couple of times where they've won these headers, but these guys header it out of bounds, right? They header it up instead of down, and who knows what would have happened. But I think a lot of what we saw for Colombia came out a lot in the first half and halfway through the second half, and they did look tired. They look very tired, and that's truly what I think gave Argentina the ability to come back and continue fighting, because in the first half, Colombia controlled most of it. And Argentina was just trying to win the ball and trying to get it out, trying to get it to Messi, try to get it to Di Maria, try to get it to Julian Alvarez to get chances at least to score. And we have them. We see him trying to get it up there, and it wasn't working as much. It wasn't building as much. It wasn't creating as much until the second half goes. And you start seeing the second half, Colombia looks a little tired. They're not counting as much. They're laying back a little more to defend. And so the Argentina starts attacking. Argentina starts going. And it sucks. Messi gets hurt. He twists his ankle when trying to save the ball, trying to cross it to keep the ball in. His ankle gets really hurt. He gets really hurt, but he continues to play on it, whilst not knowing how bad it is until later on. And that's one thing. Messi hurt. Argentina's like, as fans, you see, okay, if they had to take him out, who's going to step up? Who's going to play the best? Who's going to do what? And I think that kind of went away a bit when Messi started going again, and he made it to halftime. I mean, that was it. He made it, and then second half he's going. He got the halftime ref. He's going to second half and everything, but he just got too hurt at the end of it. Running on the field, and you could see it wasn't even a contacted injury. He just got hurt running, and it sucks because he couldn't do it anymore. And he walked out, and you see how swollen his ankle was. You see how swollen. It's like those guys with like the giant necks, big fat neck. His ankle's like that, and he couldn't play anymore. And it sucks. You see him crying because he wanted to be there. He wanted to win his second Copa America for Argentina, and just continue being able to play and compete because it's the final, of course. And I think not just in the fans but on the team, there was a moment of like, dang, like okay, we need someone else gonna have to step up and be our player for the rest of this game. And although there was a moment of it like despair, I think Argentina they were able to find themselves to pick it up, and the game goes on. The tough part for Colombia was one where you first take out James and took out Rios. Now I understand Rios wasn't playing all that great on that game in that game. He was playing good, but not to a higher level when he was able to win the balls a lot more. And I also think Colombia was facing arguably one of the harder opponents. I think Argentina was a tougher opponent than Brazil was for Colombia. And and I mean I still think Uruguay was probably the hardest competition for Colombia. And a lot of it would have to be because they're playing dirty, but you could argue Uruguay didn't have the full team and all these other stuff. But I think Uruguay probably was the hardest one for Colombia. Argentina's right there with it as the toughest. But in the midfield, I think that was the hardest part. And I don't think Rios was able to recover as many balls as he normally we saw him doing throughout this tournament, being able to win as many chances and stuff. I mean, take them out. You still have Luis Diaz. You still have the opportunity, the Liverpool player, to at least be some part of your offense as well as Cordoba still being there. And they're going and they're trying to, and it wasn't anything going on. That what felt like was officially done for Columbus Stars, and it was like, okay, you have to get something out of your bench. Take out Cordoba and Luis Diaz. You put in Bojas and forgot the playoff sub in. But you put them in and you're trying to create some attack. I don't think Bojas did much of anything, or he really didn't do much of anything in the extra time. But what I'm trying to say is throughout this game, that's really what was the turning point in Colombia just losing their momentum, losing even any true attack of getting a goal. Yeah, they continued to attack, but I think that their shots went down. Their opportunities of dangerous attacks went down quite a bit. They still had a couple of chances, but again, Dibu had a really good game, and Argentina was attacking a lot more on the other side. That Colombia was trying just to. At first, it looked like Colombia was just trying to get it to extra time. As extra time went before the goal, they were just trying to get it to penalties because that attack, there was very little of it. Yeah, Bojas was fighting, other players were there trying to compete and trying to fight for the ball in the box and get a chance to score. And Colombia, like I said, had like one or two chances. Again, even off set pieces where we saw Lerma or Yermi, it was one of the two where they win headers off corners and still couldn't even get it on target to the goal. So in all of that, it looked like Colombia was down. Argentina kept it going. And a play that was just a clean tackle by DePaul, winning the ball, passing Latao Martinez. Latao pass back. He passes it to Lo Celso, who just one touches it perfectly with Martinez. Martinez taking a touch and finishing right in between the keepers, Colombia's keeper's hands. And you saw, if you look, it kind of like hits his like head a little, and as it goes in between. A beautiful goal, and you know, as time was almost going down, and Colombia just needed to hold back and try to push it to penalties. Latao Martinez comes in as a sub. You call him a super sub for this game because he scored the game-winning goal, and he able to finish it. Argentina was able to find a way, put the subs in of Lo Celso and Latao Martinez, and the other players were able to hold down Colombia's offense, hold them down defensively, but as well as create some attack. With fresh legs in that midfield and offense and forwards. I do want to say though, this was such a really good game for Lisandro Martinez. You could say the center back pair played really good altogether. But I think the one that shined out the most between the two was Lisandro Martinez. I think he has one of his best games. So he had other good games in this tournament. I think this was one of the best ones. He was rock solid. He was winning headers or even balls that looked like they were going to go over him. But obviously, he's not one of the tallest center backs, but the ones that looked like they were going to go over him, ran back and won these headers, won these second chance opportunity for Colombia. He stops the shot. I think this Lisandro, along with Dibu, really great games. And you're watching, just like, wow. And maybe he keeps it up for Man U when he goes back for a club. Keeps it up if when he plays, if he's given time games to start. But that was really a great game for the both center back pairs, really both center back pairs. But on speaking more on Lisandro, that he won. I think he won. I don't think he won all his 50-50s or duels, but he won a good majority of them. So yeah, and it comes down, like I said, to the goal, and Argentina defense is holding back. And what it was for Colombia, it looked like at the end they weren't really rushing, trying to cross the ball. They were like going from the front of the goalie instead of sending it up, which I understand. When you send it up, you split the ball 50-50, and Argentina can win the ball back. So you play to your center back. But as he's taking up, he's not in the rush or passing out wide where they could create some form of attack. Now it's like the right back or center back was there, and he's looking to cross, and the cross isn't all that great, right? The cross gets bounced back into midfield, bounce around, maybe straight to defense again, and then it was sent out wide again. It wasn't much of an attack. It wasn't urgency. It wasn't any of that, and it looked like because the Colombians were tired. They were dead, even with the subs that were made, even with the fresh legs. There was just like no urgency of it, and they were too tired of it. And at the ending, you kind of expect just everyone going in, these crosses being sent in, all these other things, and there wasn't that many, really. And it kind of looks like Colombia were too tired and knew it was almost over in those last 2 minutes. 2 minutes, yeah, 2 minutes of the extra time. So, yeah, it was a really good game. It was a really good game, and I mean, I really thought it was gonna be 2-1. I thought Colombia's offense was gonna do something else. Thought James was gonna have a bit more freedom and be a little more be smarter in a couple of his plays, but he still played a great game. And props to James, he wins player of the tournament, which I think he's a few players that have proven to have earned it. Even before this tournament, Colombia was undefeated, but no one thought that they would make it so far as to the final. Probably quarters or even semifinals. Maybe some people had Colombia there, but not to the finals. He earned himself the trophy for player of the tournament because he, in my opinion, carried Colombia offensively to something they probably shouldn't have been in. If you don't look at the stats, they're kind of just looking at other teams. And part of it, you've seen other teams is they couldn't win. Brazil didn't play good. Mexico, USA, Uruguay was the only other competition. I mean, Ecuador, Venezuela also played really good, but Colombia, with the help of Luis Diaz and the help of Rios and Mojica and the defense. I think Mojica was all right defender. I think he was solid. Not all around great, but I think he was a solid defender. I think Lerma played really good defensively. So, and Cordoba was all right for me, in my opinion. Cordoba was all right. So, but I think James was a nice piece to bring this team all together, winning. So he's earned it. But yeah, now Argentina, Spain, the next game. So I'm just leaving it, here on the screen because not much changed on it. But I wanted to point out about what went on prior to the game, what delayed the game a whole hour and a half, about hour and a half. What really was the situation of it? And there's a lot of either side to it. There's one, don't know, the situation was a lot of fans who don't have tickets, who didn't have tickets to the game. One, broke through the barriers that were there. They either climbed or enough people broke through the barriers that were there to divide people or block people from going in. And that that broke. So many people that didn't have tickets were going in, climbing in, taking seats that weren't theirs and stuff like that. And it looked bad because one, you see a bunch of people climbing walls, climbing things. There's pictures of some fans going through vents to get through the ventilations, and it's not just like two or three people. It was like at least 8 people trying to get through the ventilations to get to spots, not to get caught by police. And it caused a whole fiasco in which police were trying to get people, kick them out, and to the point where they officially just closed all the gates, and people with tickets, people who bought real tickets, weren't allowed to go in. Now, eventually, the game started, and I don't know. Word said, I couldn't find on Twitter. I didn't hear anything. Maybe I missed it. That the fans that were outside that did have the tickets, they were allowed in, because it wasn't right if they weren't gonna be able to go watch the game for the tickets they have. Like, obviously you have to kick out the ones that don't have tickets, but how to do it. And I did see a picture where apparently police were going, through the duration of the game, police were going row by row, checking people's tickets. They haven't kick them out, get them out, get them out. Now, was it every row? Was it every police? I don't know. We don't know how much security or police personnel they had. There's a lot of rows. I mean, the stadium is pretty big, not the biggest, but it's pretty big. And to go through all of that, especially early on, where these fans want to go in early to see the start of the game for the full thing, it took a lot, and it sucks if those fans weren't be able to go in. But if you go on Twitter, you go on social media, and you see a lot of people to talk about. One, there's one side that says it's the US's fault. They're not ready for it. Shows they're not ready for the World Cup to come. Shows that they haven't been prepared at all. They have no understanding precautions that need to be taken, and this and this and that. That the US should never hold a major soccer event anymore. This and that. And I understand how it looks. I understand it does look like the US itself, as a country, as a whole, as a federation, the US Soccer Federation as a whole, did not look prepared at all for this type of behavior. And hindsight, which is 2020, you're looking back at the game between Colombia and Uruguay and seeing the end result between the Uruguayan player and the Colombia fans. Now, I'm not pointing this only to Colombia fans, although it may sound like it. But my point was, is that it was just a small preview of what was instantly talked about as we saw it happen. There's not enough security to face any event. At those moments, the fans were getting angry at the Uruguayan families and stuff, or they're celebrating in front of them, throwing stuff at them, and it wasn't right. And of course, the Uruguay players getting away. But the main part was that there was security that got there late and didn't get there on time. That was just a small preview to what happened here, where these fans were able to break through. It could be Argentina fans, could be Colombia fans, could be fans of neither one. They're just fans there to watch soccer, and they're breaking through because they wanted to get through. And so it does give a bad look. And the U.S. should have been more prepared, should have had more security, should have had more police, should have had everything locked down, yes. But some things that defending the U.S. as a country, defending the country when it comes to hosting international things, this is Miami. You have NFL games there in the Hard Rock Stadium. You have lots of fans going to those games for the Dolphins. Have games not just in the stadium, but in other states in the country, where you have college football, especially in the south of the SEC, and in the north with the Big Ten, where football is all pretty much, that's the life there. Essentially, football is the number one sport. These fans, all they care about is college football, and they go to these games like in Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, all of them, Texas, Michigan, Ohio State, all of these, they have lots of fans. They're crazy lot of fans. And the argument was that you don't see a lot of this, what happened in this game, before the game, sorry, what you saw people breaking through. You don't see that in these college football games. That was their argument. So you can't blame the US for not being prepared for it because the US knows how to be prepared for these situations when it comes to college football. Now they're comparing college football to being, being rowdier, being more stable than college fans, than soccer fans. But that's not the point. Point is, can't blame the US saying it's not the US's fault, it's Conmebol fault. Now that brings the other side of the argument. Now this Conmebol fault for not being prepared and telling, hey, we're gonna need this here, we need this here, we need this, we need our grasses to be perfect. Because yes, it is on the US for putting grass on top of turf fields or on top of set platforms instead of having natural grass there, having stadiums with natural grasses. We know the issue in the US when it comes to the NFL and turf and natural grasses. And we saw it, and there was a big controversies, and especially when the first game started between Argentina and Canada and Georgia, the grass didn't look good. Other fields like in New York and MetLife Stadium didn't look good with the grass rolled on top, and other stadiums as well. That is an issue for the World Cup. But does this blame go for? Does this blame go to the U.S. Federation or the United States as a country, or does it go to the Conmebol for not telling the U.S., hey, you have to make, you had to have real grass, full field grass, good grass on each stadium, not above the turf, not over the turf, not over some concrete platform, none of that. Real grass right here. That's the argument. Who is to take the blame? Is it Conmebol for not making the expectations, not reaching the expectations that you see in stadiums in South America and Central America and Mexico, where these fields are all grass? Is Conmebol the ones because it is their tournament, they're the ones control, they should have set what they wanted? Or is it on the US for their ties to still just using turf for a good amount of these stadiums that will be hosting the World Cup? Who's to blame on it? Who's to take the blame? Personally, I think it should just be on both. I think as a whole, it should be on both and not just one or the other. Because I agree, there are college stadiums that get crazy, that get rowdy, that they have crazy security, and either it happens and we don't see it on the social media and we don't see it on things, or it really doesn't happen where fences get breaking down, escalators get destroyed, VIP sections get broken into, all this other stuff. Maybe it does or doesn't happen, and the US is able to control it. But I think as the country, as the US, you have to represent, you want more. We've held the World Cup here in the United States before. We've seen it, how it's been held in college stadiums like the Rose Bowl and other stadiums all across the country. We've seen that it's been able to be done. So it can be done here in the US again. And although, like, you're using this argument, you could say that's why it's not the US's fault, sure. But the US, as the federation, the soccer federation, and as the country, should take upon themselves, hey, we don't want this bad look to be portrayed upon us by some people to think it's our fault. So let's do our part and prevent this. Let's tell every city, hey, or at every state, hey, we're giving you this much money, or we're just enforcing you have to hire a lot more security, whether it's security or even want to be safer, even police officers. Do what you have to do to get the police officers, the necessary number of police officers there to enforce safety for them, to enforce better quality of experience for each stadium. And then for the US, it's also saying, hey, and for the soccer federation, not the country, the US, but the soccer federation is going to the stadiums, hey, we need real grass, not grass rolled up on top of the turf or the platform 3 days before the game. We need a stadium that already has set grass. It's just there, perfectly ready, with a nice soft ground and things like that. That's on the U.S. Soccer Federation. They need to take the responsibility for it. There's a lot of complaints on it, a lot from players, and it's not just the game fields; it's also practice fields where there's quite a few that had complaints like that. The coach of Uruguay, Bielsa, talked about it, where Bolivia's practice field wasn't good. Things like that. And then it leads to CONMEBOL having one, you're hosting. Obviously, this one's in another 4 years, but when it comes to that, you ever think about the US again, hey, we need real grass. We need this security. We need this is great. This is that. This is that. We need all of that. So I think the best way is all of them to take the blame. Really, it's all within ourselves. It's all of them to take the blame, take responsibility, and the U.S. having to learn from this and move forward for the World Cup. It's really the end of that. Really, it's really how I think the discussion should end, and responsibility gets divided up within themselves. But yeah, so I guess Copa America final. That's my review on it. That's my what I think about it. Thought Shakira halftime performance was kind of short. I like the song she played. There was a lot more iconic songs that she could have played because she has so many more songs. But I like the song she played, the few that she played. It did feel short, and for whatever reason they had it cut it short, or that was the set time. But that was cool. I liked it, and Shakira always has a good performance. So, you guys, next international soccer one is probably the Finalismo, which is already set to supposedly be in 2025. So it's gonna be a long way. So it's gonna be a long way. So then, before we go, I know in the last video I posted the result of Uruguay and Canada came out. I said Uruguay was gonna win 2-1. Uruguay did win in penalties. In a game that I think Canada should have won because Canada played better, but they had so many attack opportunities and they missed so many. They truly missed so many attacks. Canada won 4-2, 4-5, 5-2. If they could finish, they could have finished. They could have won 5-2, 4-2, whatever it was. Canada played better as a team. Uruguay ended up scoring the necessary goals to send it to penalties and get the winning penalties. So got the right prediction, got the wrong score, but still, Uruguay didn't really look as good. Or Canada just looked so much better in this game. But Copa America final. Next one is the Finalismo, which is set to be in 2025. So we're going to see Argentina and Spain in those games, or in that game. We have a video for that. But until next time, see ya. I'm Joe Galvez. It's Silent Thoughts.